Good evening, everyone. 7:30 on the 7th of October, 2021. Let's call the meeting to order and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all.
Okay. Trustee Fritchie.
Present.
Sue, you're frozen. Is she frozen or is it just my imagination?
It's not just you.
Well, I'm here. I know I was next, so I'm present.
Trustee Lopez.
Present.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Of course, it goes fine before the meeting. Trustee White.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Casada.
Present.
And Mayor Levin.
Present. Okay. Good evening, all. And sorry. We're going, I think, into public hearing. Yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Sue. Sorry.
That's okay. Public hearing in the matter of a proposed local law number 8, 2021, a local law amending chapter 270 zoning for the Village of Ossining Code by adding a new Article 16 administrative adjustments and by amending section 270-49 procedure. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this public hearing?
I don't
I don't
believe,
see anybody.
yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments on the board? Seeing none. Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, proposed honorary street naming for James Lewis Bason Jr. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on that subject?
Mayor, do you want me to bring Joyce over?
Is she raising her hand?
She's not, but I'm sure she's here because there's a couple of different things.
Okay, so sure, bring her over. She can discuss
Okay.
the
So
whole
Joyce,
thing.
I'm going to bring you over. I did. I don't know if you're.
There she is.
I see her. I see her picture.
Okay. She may not have anything to say then. Okay.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Comments?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mayor and trustee announcements. Mayor.
Thank you. Trustees, any announcement? I'll start with Dana White.
Yeah, they're kind of a sad announcement. Ossining Hardware is going to be closing. It's on Croton Avenue, and it's one of our oldest businesses. Been in town since 1950. The owner, Steve, is retiring, and he's going to be selling everything. So keep an eye out for sales. But you know, it's these Ossining Hardware. You know, it was one of these places where you could go in and they just had everything. You know, and I remember I went in recently, I needed mason jars and he had them, 24 mason jars. And, you know, it's just a great hardware store. And it's always sad when you lose one of your older businesses or any business. So anyway, we do wish him well. And this is the time to get that tool set you wanted on sale. So he's selling his entire inventory over the next month or so. So keep an eye out for that. And thank you, Steve, for your service to Ossining, selling us nails, hammers, paint, the stuff we need for our houses. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee White. Thanks for bringing that to everybody's attention. Appreciate it. Trustee announcements. Anyone else? Looking around the gallery? No, I'm seeing a lot of head shakes. Okay. I'll make a couple of brief ones. Some of us, the village was very well represented, as was the town. The Westchester Water had actually awarded, we've talked about this before, but I'm going to give it one more shout out to our finest folks, our engineers, who make sure that the water runs cleanly and well all year long, and you never really know what they're doing until it doesn't work as well as you'd like it to. We had that incident with some odor and some algae that occurred a number of months ago, and their amazingly quick reaction to analyzing the problem, coming up with a solution, doing it so well, and in the process creating new processes that they last night shared with engineers from around the county about what they did to solve the problem so that we all have clean and good tasting. I mean, the water was actually it was okay. It just smelled a little mildewy, and we were getting hundreds of complaints about it. And they really reacted amazingly fast to it. And I need to remind everyone that we had a pandemic going on in the middle of all of that. Not easy to work in teams and groups to solve problems. Working remotely the way they had to, and it was pretty amazing. So we really enjoyed ourselves in giving them their appropriate accolades, and also hearing from neighboring communities. We had won an award, the Village of Ossining, when I say we, but it's really their work. When I first ran for trustee, somebody said to me, remember, the most important thing you can do is make sure there's good drinking water, the toilets flush correctly, and the roads are maintained. Everything after that is a bonus point. So I do remember those wise words, because it is true that it's like going to the dentist. You only feel your teeth when there's a problem. Otherwise, you just think that everything works the way it should. So kudos to all the folks who made that happen. We had Andy Teese, we had Paul Fraioli, and we had Steve Ho. Some of you are fans of Steve Ho, my daughter being one of those people. So big shout out to all the great work that they're doing, and also part of the education. I'm going to say for the 100th time, if not the 101, that if anybody would like to take a class, either from Ossining or from anywhere else, and bring students, kids, your family members, yourselves, and take a tour of the water treatment plant, the tour is amazing. It really is a great event to take the tour, because you actually see chemistry in action, and you actually get to understand how water works and how all of that actually is put together. It's actually, even for someone like me who's never a science person, it was pretty thrilling to watch. I've done it twice now, so I highly recommend that you reach out to Paul Fraioli or to Andy Teese, or to the village manager's office if you would like tours. So that was one of the pieces that I wanted to share with everybody. And the other one is that I encourage people to share. The Village of Ossining has a wonderful Facebook, both the police department and the village itself, just encouraging folks to share the information and ask the BOT any questions. A reminder that we generally don't respond to Facebook. It's proprietary to Facebook. It's not private to anybody else. So we prefer that you email questions, comments, or anything else to bot@villageofossining.org. And so I think that's all I had to say for tonight. As a reminder, I would mention that vaccines are up, but I'm sort of sick of hearing myself say it. So I'm going to give a quick go get vaccinated if you haven't gotten that already, especially as kids are now increasingly, slowly but surely, will be able to be vaccinated. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Administrative reports, Village Manager Karen Dottori.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good evening, everyone. We have a long agenda tonight. I will keep my comments short, but I will tell you all that we are working in preparation for the 2022 budget. So this week we have met and will be meeting, concluding tomorrow, with all department heads. And I want to commend them all for doing a good job of putting together some really sound budgets, some thoughtful budgets, and budgets that really demonstrate a good use of taxpayer resources to achieve the common goals. and the board initiatives that have been set forth for this year and the coming year. So thank you, staff, and thank you both. We look forward to engaging the board in those discussions and the public as well.
Great.
Great.
Corporation Counsel Stuart Kahan.
Thank you, Sue. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the 2 public hearings tonight. We have, as Karen pointed out, a very busy agenda. I know that there have been a number of announcements with regard to looking for volunteers with regard to our various boards. We had 2 meetings this week, one of the EAC and one of the HPC, both of which are in need of members. Planning board last week, I think they have an opening for 1 alternate, and the zoning board meets next week. So if folks are interested in any of those or other committees, please follow the links on the village's webpage and sign up. It's rewarding work, it's interesting work, and we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Police Chief Kevin Sylvester.
Good evening. I've been through a lot of meetings and I don't know what qualifies as a long meeting, but if this group starts announcing that, I'm scared.
You should be. It is scary.
So I'll start with an acknowledgement of a member of service that we've lost last week. Last week we said goodbye to Bobby Wood, who was a police officer here many, many years ago. Most of us aren't really sure when he started or ended, but long before most of us were alive. We knew Mr. Wood as a cab driver in Ossining, and the senior officers would always introduce the newer officers to him, and a really kind man, a World War II veteran, 99 years old when he passed last week. Nice tribute from the Honor Guard here at the Ossining Police Department. One of the things that we started in 2009 was a burial unit for deceased members of service and veterans. If you cannot find your DD 214 within the few days after you die, which is a common occurrence, especially with the very elderly folks in our community, the United States military will not send anybody to perform a burial rite. So our department does that and steps in where the military won't come. Family was able to find a DD 214 at the very last minute, so they sent a small team. Our team was able to go out and provide the rifle salute and fold the flag while they played taps. So I'm proud to be able to offer that service to his family for a man that was always very kind to all of our members, and we're sad to see him go. Last week, we also said goodbye in a different way to Officer Marvis Renals, who retired after 25 years of service or so. Great service to the community, a fun person to work with, and she'll be dearly missed. In filling positions, I'll be coming to the board very, very soon. Police grades were released this week, and thank God for Maddie, because she's making it happen. We've sent canvas letters out, and we're looking to hire for as many positions as we can. So canvas letters are out. We'll see what comes back, and then I look forward to speaking with the board about opportunities to start interviewing and filling some of our many, many open positions. Today or in the next couple of days, Jamie will be putting out, and we'll do on our side as well, Halloween event that we're going to be coordinating with Recreation on October 29th, starting at 4 p.m. and they think until 8:45, but I'm going to say no because it'll be dark. We're going to do a pumpkin patch event in Nelson Park, so more to come on what's with that, but pumpkin painting, costumes, and all that stuff. And 2 quick outreach things. This month I was featured in Size Up Magazine, New York State Association of Fire Chiefs, where they asked me to write a piece on crisis communications and building trust with community. And yesterday, Detective Chavez appeared at the Ossining Public Library for a panel discussion for Hispanic Heritage Month, along with Dr. Sanchez and a couple of other folks in the community. So lots going on at the police department as always. That's all for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Organizational announcements. Is there anyone that wishes to give an announcement about an organization event?
There's no one on, Sue. I mean, there is, but
Okay.
not from announcements for that.
Right. Okay. Public comment on agenda items. Anyone is allowed 1 4-minute opportunity to address the board on any of the resolutions on the agenda. Is there anyone that wishes to do that this evening?
Just raise your virtual hand if you're interested, and we will bring you over. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands.
Okay, village board resolutions. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the September 14th, 2021 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Sue?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the September 22nd, 2021 special meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Comments? Sue?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated October 7th, 2021 in the amount of $1,138,894.67. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? Manny, did you look
Aye.
at these?
No, I did. I'm not gonna bring this. It's a voucher that's about $1.
Okay.
I was gonna ask a question about that to Dell, but I would think it's just $1 in comparison to the.
We're not doing $1 because it costs more than $1 to have the conversation.
Yes, no, but is there was a higher number because it was a big capital project,
Ah.
part of that voucher process. So yes, but
Great.
everything was good as always. Thank you.
Everything's cool? All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolved that the Village of Ossining, the village manager, is authorized to sign a sales authorization agreement with Signal One Fire Apparatus, 403 Main Street, Port Washington, New York, 11050, to offer the sale of the following vehicle: a 2001 American LaFrance 1500-650 pumper, hollow hose engine 100. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? Nope. Sue?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls a public hearing to take place on October 20th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. to consider the proposed honorary street naming of Beach Road, a member of Barbara Klopkowski, pursuant with the village's honorary street naming policy. And be it further resolved that the result of Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, a law signed on September 2nd, 2021 by Governor Hochul, which law authorizes the public body to
Sue, you're muted.
Sue?
Something wrong with her mic.
It's not muted. It's
She's not frozen.
She looks frozen
Hello.
now.
No, she's,
Sue, we couldn't hear anything. It's like we lost you
Sorry.
at some point.
No, I apologize.
After Governor Hochul.
Governor Hochul, which law authorizes any public body to meet and such actions authorized by law without allowing the public to be physically present at the meeting. The public hearing will be conducted remotely by Zoom platform. And be it resolved that the comments regarding the proposed honorary street naming will be accepted by the Board of Trustees at bot@villageofossining.org. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Comments?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think there wasn't a
Manny?
second.
Yeah. Second, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Comments?
No.
Sue?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Call for a public hearing, proposed honorary street naming for Dream Ione Shepherd. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing to take place on October 20th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. to consider the proposed honorary street naming at the intersection of South Highland Avenue and Main Street at historical Ossining Bank Building in memory of Dream Ione Shepherd, pursuant with the village's honorary street naming policies. And be it further resolved that as a result of Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021 signed into law on September 2nd, 2021 by Governor Hochul, which law authorizes the public body to meet and take actions authorized by law without allowing the public physically present. The public hearing will be conducted remotely by Zoom. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Comments? I actually is, oh, I think the historian isn't on anymore, right? Is she
No,
still on?
she's not. She actually had intended to be there just to watch the meeting, but then she had something else.
Okay, so I need to understand why it's in front of the bank building. Usually we do signs where people live or whatever. That's in an intersection of a commercial area. Does anybody know?
She lived near there, Mayor, according to the report.
She actually lived near there?
Yes, that's exactly what the
okay.
report says.
Oh, that's all right. I
She lived-
actually,
She lived at the top of Main Street, so.
oh, at the top of Main Street, but you can't put a sign over there. The nearest, okay, got it. Okay, good. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Call for a public hearing, proposed law 15-2021 entitled the local law adding a new chapter 42 procurement policy to the Village of Ossining Code. Resolved that the Board of Trustees in the Village of Ossining hereby calls a public hearing to take place at 7:30 p.m. October 20th, 2021 to consider proposed law 15-2021 entitled Local Law Adding a New Chapter Procurement Policy to the Village Code, Village of Ossining Code. And be it further resolved that the proposed local law authorizes the Village of Ossining Board and Trustees to exercise the option to award certain purchase contracts subject to competitive building under General Municipal Law, Section 103, on the basis of either lowest responsible bidder or the best value as defined in New York State Financial Law, Section 163. And be it further resolved that the result of Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, signed into laws on September 2nd, 2021, by Governor Hochul, authorizes the public body to meet and take action authorized by law without allowing the public to be physically present at the meeting, and the public hearing will be conducted remotely via Zoom. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Need a second.
Second.
Comments? I'll just briefly comment that we discussed all of this at length before. This is a way to really consider the bidding system from going to lowest bid to, let's call it best bid, because it's not always the cheapest person that comes in that should win a bid. And we had this conversation during the work session. I just want to make sure the public understands that even though we're voting rather quickly, the work sessions is where we do lots of discussions back and forth as necessary regarding the item. For those interested in this, there was discussion on it. And this is actually a pretty standard operating procedure in many municipalities. Not all, but many. Thank you, Stuart, for bringing this to our attention.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? DPW authorization to advertise for bid contract DPW 21-03, replacement of the chiller at the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. Resolved that subject to review of Corporation Counsel, the village clerk is authorized to advertise for bids for contract DPW 21-03, replacement of chiller at the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. Such bids will be returnable to the village clerk. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? How old is the chiller that's there now? Do we know? Of course we know, but can someone share that with me?
It's got to be 20 years old.
Because the building is about, that's probably the original, right?
Most likely.
Yeah.
All right, we don't really have anybody on here that knows. And Dale, you don't know because you don't keep track of this stuff, right?
Not the age.
Okay.
It's old.
All right. It's old. I could have asked this before the meeting, so that
It
they would have
was,
been more prepared for an
and
answer.
we unfortunately don't have the exact date, but it is
Okay.
something we had a lot of problems with last summer, so.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. That's Chiller. Authorization for the village to accept payment in satisfaction of foreclosure tax liens.
Sue, you missed one.
Whereas in accordance.
You
Sue,
missed I.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry about that. Authorization issuing requests for proposals for defense counsel. Oh, I understand why. Defense counsel for litigation matters. Resolved that upon review of the corporation counsel, the village manager is authorized to issue a request for proposal for defense counsel for litigation matters. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second,
Comments? Sue?
All those in, sorry, all those in favor? Sorry, Mayor.
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? Okay, let's try this one now. Authorization of the village to accept payment in satisfaction of foreclosed tax liens. Whereas in accordance to the Ossining Village Charter, Article 4, the village treasurer is charged with the duty of collecting real property taxes from persons named on the tax roll in accordance to the New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 1110. The village treasurer has the authority on or before the expiration date of the applicable redemption period to accept payment in real property taxes from such persons along with any other charges authorized by law for real property subject to delinquent tax liens. And whereas the applicable redemption period for the 2017 real property taxes expired on June 19th, 2019 for the 2018 real property taxes on October 14th, 2020, and for the 2019 real property tax on September 22nd, 2020.
Sue? Sue? Sue?
Real properties located in the village at 233 Spring Street has provided sufficient proof of an ability to pay in full all taxes and assessments against the subject property to bring the account up to date. Oh, where did I lose you? Where did I lose you?
You lost about 3 sentences.
Okay.
Does she have
Whereas,
to read them again, Stuart? The 3 sentences she missed?
No.
Okay, Sue, just keep going, please.
Okay. Whereas notwithstanding the expiration of such redemption period, the property owner for certain real property located in the village at 233 Spring Street has provided sufficient proof of the ability to pay in full all taxes and assessments against subject property to bring the account up to date and the ability to make a full and complete settlement in satisfaction of the foreclosed delinquent tax liens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees, hereby authorizes and directs the treasurer to accept payment of the amount sufficient to pay full the total amount, including any interest, penalties, and other charges authorized by law for the real property taxes and any tax liens, both pending and foreclosed, on the property located at 233 Spring Street in the Village of Ossining. And whereas by resolution, the Board of Trustees on February 21st, am I reading the right page? Yeah. The Board of Trustees on February 21st, 2018, a capital project.
No, Sue, you're jumping
Yeah,
ahead.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
Oh, I apologize.
that's all right.
Ossining and authorizes any and all filings and notifications to evidence to release said liens against the real property. I knew that didn't make sense. Do I have a motion?
So move.
second,
Any comments? Go ahead, Sue.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Authorization for village to accept payment and satisfaction of foreclosed tax liens, 17 Aqueduct Street. Whereas in accordance to the Ossining Village Chapter Charter, Article 4, the village treasurer is charged with the duty of collecting real property taxes from persons named on the tax roll in accordance to the New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 1110, the village treasurer has the authority on or before the expiration of the equitable redemption period to accept payment in real property taxes from such people along with the charges, with any charges authorized by law for real property taxes subject to delinquent tax liens. And whereas the equitable redemption period for the 2018 real property taxes expired on October 14th, 2020, and for 2019 real property taxes on September 22nd, 2021. And with such expiration of redemption periods, the treasurer has no authority without action of the Board of Trustees to accept further payments. And whereas notwithstanding the expiration of such redemption periods, the property owner for certain real properties located in the village at 7 Aqueduct Street has provided sufficient proof of an ability to pay all in full, all taxes and assessments against the subject property, and to begin to account up to date and to bring the account up to date, and the ability to pay in full to complete satisfaction of the foreclosed delinquent tax lien. Therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees hereby authorizes and directs the treasurer to accept payment in the amount sufficient to pay the full total amount, including any interest, penalties, and other charges authorized by law for the real property taxes and tax liens, both pending and foreclosed for the property at 7 Aqueduct Street in the Village of Ossining, and authorizes any and all necessary filings or notifications as evidence to release such liens from the real property. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
I do have not a comment, more like a question, I guess, if anything. Obviously, you guys know what was the lien or the tax on these properties. Is that something that is obviously public information, because we get the tax information from Fernando? Is there a reason why he's not putting into as part of our as part of the resolution here?
Never put it into the resolution.
They never? Okay.
Nope.
I was just curious to see. I went back a couple of ones. It's the first time that I seen that we have 2. We usually only have 1 sometimes.
It's the same property owner.
Oh, interesting.
That's why.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All righty.
Okay.
Sue?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Finance, establishment of the 2021 Police Technical Team Capital Project from federal FY 2019 grant administered by the New York State Department of Homeland Security Emergency Services. Whereas the Village Management wishes to establish a capital project for the tactical team grant awarded of $75,000 with no match required. Now therefore be it resolved, capital.
Oh, Sue, volume. Your microphone. Almost there, but we're not hearing you again, Sue.
I apologize. Oh my God.
So where did you leave off?
I
Whereas
said,
the village 70, yeah, whereas I think you.
Whereas Village Management wishes to establish a capital project for the technical team grant awarded of $75,000 with no match required. It is therefore resolved that the capital projects and the capital project budgets are established as follows. And then that again just tells you how it's established, and it will be posted on the wall of the clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Need a second.
Second.
Okay, so comments? Chief, I just have a comment, just in like a sentence. How is the money going? I mean, obviously it's a grant that you guys won, which is fantastic. No match, doubly fantastic. And I just don't know what a tactical team kind of thing is. So could you just give us a sentence on what this is?
Sure. So I'd sent some information to the board April or May about this grant being issued to us. It took a while for the rest of the stuff to come through after notification. This was part of Sergeant Mayorando's fantastic work with getting our SWAT team accredited. Believe we're one of only 2 or 3 in Westchester County, not too many in New York State, outside of New York City, that actually managed to get their SWAT teams accredited, which means that all of the procedures with our tactical unit are in compliance with DCJS. Most other teams are either, sort of putting together what they can do. Not every municipality has the capacity to do this. So $75,000 is the grant that comes after you've, or is one of the grants available to you after you've become accredited. And the things that it's going to go towards, I know that the first purchase they wanted was some communications gear. You'll sometimes see headsets and stuff like that. It'll go towards body armor and other protective stuff. I mean, at this point, SWAT teams have really evolved over the years from, when I was on the team, we did a lot of high-risk search warrants with narcotics investigations. At this point, they're really more of a rescue unit that's there in the event of a lot of the high-profile stuff you see on TV where cops are called in to help people, school shootings and things of that nature. Is to be prepared for that and have rescue equipment available so that if we're put in a position to have to do those things, that we have all that capability here in Ossining.
So is the grant going for things for the SWAT team, or it's actually it's an award and you guys will be spending it on, as you just stated, communication elements, et cetera, et cetera. It's up to your discretion.
Correct. It's left up to us. There's a criteria of things that we're permitted to buy within this. So there's lists of things that we're allowed to buy and types of equipment. I don't recall what the full list of things that they had objectives for. They've got to see what they can fit with it. 75,000 goes very, very fast when buying police equipment. But I know that the first one that was on their list was some communications tools. And then we'll see what comes after that. I know we need some new body armor for our folks and some other protective gear.
Great. Okay. Any other questions, comments, folks? Yeah, this was from a few months ago, but still always nice that you guys go out and get a grant and get more things. Nice. Sue?
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Finance budget modification to enclose 2016 Broadway Bridge Rehabilitation Capital Project. Whereas by resolution of the Board of Trustees on March 16, 2016, a capital project was established with the estimated engineering and construction maintenance costs of $211,000 associated with the rehabilitation of the Broadway Bridge and was funded with a transfer of $211,000 from the general fund. And whereas the resolution of the Board of Trustees on February 21st, 2018, the capital project budget adjustment was authorized with an additional capital project budgetary appropriations in the amount of $2,600,000 for the construction costs associated with the Broadway Bridge reconstruction project. And said appropriations were financed with the issuance of a serial bond adopted under a separate resolution. And whereas the Board of Trustees now wishes to authorize the transferring of the unexpenditure balance of $182,400.14 to the debt service fund and reduce the bond appreciation amount portion to borrow by the unexpended project balance, and therefore be it resolved that the Broadway Bridge reconstruction capital project budget is modified as follows, and the budget for the debt service fund amended. And again, it just shows you how the $182,400 is going into the debt fund. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Comments on the board? I'm assuming that's one of the reasons Dale is with us. I actually don't have questions. I don't know if anybody else has.
So is this the last, does this mean that the project is finished? Is this the last thing you do? Transfer any leftover money back? Will go to cover the debt or the?
Right. Good evening, Mayor and Village Board.
Hi, Dale.
To answer in the simple form, yes. We actually returned retainage at the end of 2020 for this project, which was past the point of when we do our ban renewals. We do our ban renewals, we start in August and then we close sometime in September is the normal process. So this year, when I was doing the analysis for what we needed to fund new for this year, as well as what was outstanding, we could close out this project and transfer this unexpended balance over to debt service to lower our debt portion open on the ban for the Broadway Bridge. But that is the normal process. I probably should have done it the prior meeting, but unfortunately, time seems to have gotten away. So a little housekeeping, but we will not be paying, money on a balance that we don't need because we're done.
Thank you, Dale.
Can
can't
back to the air handlers, because I went to the fixed asset listing. And actually, when I looked up for the community center, we had 95 Broadway coming on our fixed assets, April 1st of 1976. And then under the equipment, we actually had air handlers, and not sure if we're in the right realm of things, but that actually came on board June 1st of 1978.
Once you start with 19, I think it sort of ends the conversation. It's hard to have a conversation after that. So thank you for looking that up. It's hard to
Sure.
believe, actually, but thank you. That's, I think that staff does an amazing job of really using things to its utmost before they discard it and replace it. So I appreciate that information. Thanks, Dale. Okay,
Although
Dana, you were done with this one? I can't tell. I see you're good?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Dale, always keeping a track of every penny that we don't pay interest on, or that we don't pay what we don't need, and things go back every time I drive by Broadway Bridge. I love it. So it's a great project. So happy to see that the finances are all lining up. Sue, you're on.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Finance, budget modification, water fund debt service appropriation. Resolved that the 2021 water fund budget is modified to transfer the fund balance to satisfy total principal due of the 2016 ban balance for project 2172 as follows. And it has a increase appropriation in the water fund by $526,219. I hope that's correct. And
Yes.
increase revenues, and increase revenues in the water fund appropriation balance, $526,219. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Bob, that
Second.
was a second?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments? Okay, Sue?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Advertising for the First Amendment of the Urban County Cooperation Agreement. Whereas Westchester County and the Village of Ossining entered into an agreement, a cooperation agreement, to undertake essential community development and housing assistance activities pursuant with Title I of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, as amended Act. And whereas the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, has notified the county that paragraph 6 of the cooperation agreement must include all statutes and HUD regulations found in section 5, paragraph H, as of April 29th, 2021, notice from HUD entitled Instructions for Urban County Qualification for Participation in the Community Development Block Grant, a CDBG program for fiscal years 2022 to 2024. And whereas the County of Westchester and the Village of Ossining, pursuant with the section 10 of the cooperation agreement, agreed to adopt this amendment in order to meet the requirements set forth in the notice. Now therefore be it resolved that upon review of the Corporation Council, the mayor is authorized to sign the First Amendment to the Urban County Cooperation Agreement. Do I have a motion?
Before we do that, it's just section 20, not 10, in case people are. 'cause
Oh, I
there's no-
apologize. Did I
That's
say
okay.
10?
That's not a problem. Yeah, but and the rest
Section
is
20.
fine.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second,
any comments? Stuart, this sounds like something that came down from the county and from HUD.
That is correct. It's
Okay.
technical amendments. HUD is requiring that the agreement specifically list the statutes that are covered.
Okay.
So we are just adopting this amendment. It is essentially a form that came to us from Norma Drummond and the folks over at Planning. And this authorizes you, Mayor, as the Chief Executive Officer of the village to sign.
Okay. Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Is there any continuing business of the board?
Not seeing any.
Is there any new business of the board?
Any of my colleagues have new business?
Mayor, that's the resolution with regard to A1 computer services.
Oh, thank you. You reading it or?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. Sue, I don't know if you got it.
I don't even have it. I don't have it, Stuart.
I'll be
so
happy to
yeah.
read it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Authorizing the village manager to sign a backup and disaster recovery services agreement with A1 Computer Services, Inc. Whereas pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 103, Sub 4, the village may forego compliance with the competitive bidding requirements when a situation arises requiring an emergency procurement. And whereas the emergency exception requires that the situation must A, result from an accident or unanticipated occurrence, B, impact public buildings, property, or the life, health, and safety of municipal residents, and C, require immediate action that cannot wait for competitive bidding. And whereas the village recently sustained a significant disruption to its ability to send, receive, and retrieve emails, which disruption is continuing to be experienced by multiple village staff and departments. And whereas the aforementioned significant disruption warrants the use of the emergency exception for procurement, and whereas the village staff have determined that a robust backup and disaster recovery system must be installed as soon as possible to avoid further disruptions. Now, therefore, be it resolved that following review by the Corporation Counsel, the village manager is authorized to sign the Backup and Disaster Recovery Services Agreement with A1 Computer Services, A1CS, 16 Mount Ebo Road, Suite 17, Brewster, New York, 10509, which agreement is for a 3-year term at a monthly fee of $1,475. Do I have a motion?
So move.
second,
Any comments?
I do. I understand the reason why we're doing this. I guess the conversation that Karen and I had, we were going to be doing. We've been doing all this. We just signed one of the resolutions in regards to bidding, and so this is a process of bidding, because that was not my understanding. My understanding from the conversation that Karen and I had, it was a little bit different than what this resolution is going right now.
So this came up earlier today, and this is a very specific item, and typically it would be subject to bid, but because we want to make sure that we are acting in a way that protects our larger interest, which is our network. We had an opportunity to get it's timed, be able to sign a contract. This is specifically for backup services. It's for a system called Datto, and it's backup systems and emergency. So it's specifically just for that. It happens the contract would be with A1, but that is not to indicate that we will be signing a contract for A1 or any other computer services without bidding those services. It's really very, very specific to just the backup systems. And I do have Wayne Frick from, we have Wayne Frick from A1 who's here as well. to answer any more technical questions, but
And
very, very
yeah,
specific.
thank you, Karen. So I guess I have more questions to this. So if it's not A1, is there any other company that can do the same thing about the backups?
There are,
Okay.
and there are, and I think it's best if we, as you know, the A1 has been working with us to implement some of the things that we know we need to do to upgrade the system and address some of the issues that we've
No,
gotten.
I don't have a problem with that at all. You know, the problem that I have is we have established by the staff recommendations that we should be going out into bid from the engineering to supplies to any services. So now I'm very uncomfortable agreeing to something like this that puts us for 3 years and not having any additional backup. So me personally, I will not be supporting this. Not because I don't think they can do the job. It's just because of the process.
Yeah, let me really explain. We would not ever recommend a process that would circumvent the bidding process unless it was of immediate nature. So in this regard, we have an issue that we need to address immediately. We do have some options. However, we don't have to commit to 3 years. A 3-year contract would alleviate, would set a basic rate that would be fixed for 3 years of $17.50 a month, but it would also waive the server fee for the on-site recovery system, which is $9,200, I believe. So if we wanted to do something, we do need to do something in a very short amount of time.
And again, the conversation that we had when this whole incident that we went through.
So this is based on, this is based on immediate information that we just received. So
okay, so there's a lot
again, we would not be making a request.
Karen, hold on a second. So
to me,
I might be hearing this badly, but it feels like the two of you are talking over one another.
Apologies.
So, I mean, you're both doing it. So Manny, please just say what your issue is with this. And Mr. Frick, who I personally have never met, was brought in. And this, I get the whole emergency scenario, and I'm hearing you. But if you could just state your issue and what you're not in support of, and what you might be in support of, so that we can move this forward
thank you,
tonight.
Mary. So again, my understanding from the conversation that we had with Karen about a week and a half ago is that we're going to be hiring them temporarily until the end of the year, and then we're going to be going out to an open market in a way to see what that looks like.
That's still true.
Okay.
This is not that's a completely separate conversation.
I understand that. I understand that. Okay, so we have not talked about this. When typically a resolution comes in front of us, we have a conversation before, a week before. I understand it's an emergency. I understand it's something that we need to do, but we're talking about budgets. We are committing ourselves for a 3-year period.
Correct.
Okay, that I don't fully understand, and for me to agree to something that I do not understand, I cannot be in support of that. As much as you tell me that we need this right now, for me to support something that we're going to be signing for 3 years, again, without going.
So we have other options.
Yeah.
Yes, Mayor, please.
Okay. So, because we're having a conversation, it'll be recorded, the public will start getting confused. Let me just break this down into compartments. If there's an acceptance of the premise that there is an emergency scenario in effect, and that is one of the reasons this was brought to us not a week ago, but literally it unfolded during the day. There's 5 of us, so I assume that the village manager called all of us or some of us, and the conversation may have taken different shape during the day based on the information she got. My belief is that we are predominantly in an agreement that we have had a very bad situation for a couple of weeks. In that situation, right, in an emergency scenario, some folks have been brought in that have done work with the village, and there's been some relationship built and trust built in their capacity and capability. We also, I think, all can agree that it's an emergency situation. What we may not be agreeing on is that we need to be held to save some money that we would sign a 3-year contract. I think what Manny is saying and what others will probably say, because I had the same conversation, is it is an unreasonable request on the part of the vendor who might want to speak to this, to use that formula that says, I'll give you some off if you sign up with me for 3 years, without the board having literally not even 24 hours to digest the information, discuss it appropriately. Maybe by next week, we would be able to have intelligent conversation, but it feels uncomfortable. Many of us work during the day, which means the conversations, Mr. Frick, I guess you're on here. It's not a reasonable request to request that the village sign 3-year of any kind.
Can you,
Really
can you
almost
guys,
for any amount. Yeah, we'll bring you on.
yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We don't
Okay.
see you, however.
So
Yeah,
maybe,
I don't see myself, but that's okay.
excuse me,
Uh,
Wayne, I'm sorry, Wayne, for one, and thank you, Mayor. And that's sort of
Right.
along with a little more detail that I'm feeling. I'm not gonna go into that whole thing, but I was not aware of that emergency, and I'm not sure if, I'm assuming other colleagues of mine were aware, but I was not aware. So Karen.
When I
and
refer,
not
when,
have- yeah.
yeah, but when I refer to an emergency, we are all aware that for the past couple of weeks, our
Yeah.
emails have blown up. And that somebody, many people or somebody, I don't know the number of people involved, have been working around the clock to retrieve lots of things that were lost. And in the process, different pieces were found. I don't want to get into the detail. I call that an emergency scenario because we need to do something so it doesn't continue going forward. Okay, so that's maybe my word. Now, I think all of us know that, and it's not like members of the public don't know. Those that follow us know we lost lots and lots of emails, and they have all been retrieved in some way or another, tested, retrieved, and then in that process, one would have to say that there were consultants on hand who said, gee, how did that happen? Might it happen again? How do we prevent it from happening? How serious is the situation? And lots of hours have been spent on this. That I think we all do know. So that maybe I used a colloquial term of calling it an emergency. That may or may not be the right term to use, but there is a situation and it can't keep going on. The question I think on hand is, do we sign a contract so quickly? For me, that's one of the questions. Is that valid though, Manny, that has happened, that we do know it happened, and that it's somewhat uncomfortable, if not dire situation in the world of IT and in the world of storage, in the world of how we save emails and documents. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Mayor, it is.
Okay. Mr. Frick, just so I'm not acting like I'm some IT techie genius, I know enough about it to be dangerous, but that's not really a good thing either. So if you could share some thoughts with us as you're
Sure.
hearing, because all of this has just been, the board really has just been informed about all
Yeah,
this.
sure, absolutely, not a problem. I'll start out with the good news is that I sent Karen some information late this afternoon, and when I say late, 4:30, maybe a little later, that my business partner who was working, who negotiates with the vendor, was able to get the same price discount extended through the end of the month. So you have to the end of the month for that scenario. So that's, I think, a good thing. I also sent Karen some documents. I had both Vincent, who's been working on site, and Charlie send some information that as we speak right now, the backups that are in place are not working fully. So you are still vulnerable, which is of a big concern for obvious reasons. And that's why the level of concern that something should be done as quickly as and as reasonable as possible. What else can I share? The backup scenario that you had was we're missing about the best backup we could find was back to March. So you lost roughly about 6 months of email. Some of you, some we were able to recover from local desktop redundancy that was there. So that was a good thing. So not you can ask what other particular questions you might have, but I just wanted to focus on the primary, that we were able to get the vendor to extend that discount of not having to purchase a server till the end of the month. So hopefully that belays some of your concerns. And the fact that backups are not running as we speak is a concern.
Why would we be committed to a 3-year contract?
They're doing the 3-year contract to waive the $9,000 fee for actually purchasing a server. If it was a 1-year deal, they'd make you spend another $9,000 one-time cost for a server. So they're waiving that fee.
It's an incentive, in other words. Is that a fair?
That's a fair statement. Yes.
Okay, it's like a retail incentive. Sign longer, you get a discount on something that you would otherwise have to pay. I just need to understand the 30 days. So what is the urgency? What is it that we're being asked specifically to do tonight? And for how long is that good before we put things out to bid? That's what I'm not clear about. And I apologize. I assume that Karen had time to speak to the other trustees. She only had time to speak with me. This stuff unfolded during the day, and there were other things going on today, as there always are in the village. So it's really on a very short notice, all of this, for nobody's fault, by the way. It just happens. If we had a meeting yesterday, we wouldn't even be having this conversation today, probably. So what is the urgency tonight that we must address?
The way I understand the timing of your meetings, we just this morning got the contract from the vendor, which said we'll honor the discount for 7 days. And if we would have missed the meeting tonight, we probably would have missed the 7 days. So that was the level of urgency there. But now that we have until the end of the month, you have time to think about that a little bit more and digest it a little bit more.
We could also always call a special meeting very quickly. So Karen, Stuart, somebody help me. Stuart just read the resolution. What specifically must we do tonight? So
Karen,
everybody on the board understands.
Mayor, if I just can point one thing out and
Please.
follow up on what Mr. Frick said. There are no sufficient backup systems right now. Literally right now, we could have the same situation occur again because we don't have the backup. So while the board, and I appreciate what Wayne said, is that we can get the extra till the 31st to decide, and I'm certainly not at all saying what the board should or should not do. The fact is that each day that passes is another day that we have a significant risk, and not just for emails. We're talking what Dale has in finance. We're talking what other departments have there, and Sue is there. We just don't have the backup. We don't have the backup. We don't have any of that in place to basically protect us. So without that, we are severely vulnerable. So one possibility was presented is the village could decide to do a 1-year agreement, but simply, which would be, I think, at $14.75 a month, plus pay the $9,200 for the server. The reason it's an emergency is that basically we're in a situation where it really can't wait. If we wait, every day we wait is essentially a risk and a significant risk. While I've not looked at our cyber insurance policy, the bottom line is if we're aware of something, we got to act. And we are now very much aware that we are not protected to have our system backed up. We're just not.
I have a question.
Hold on.
Please, Bob.
Sorry,
Manny,
Bob.
just a quick question.
Go ahead.
So we have no backup. When do we see having backup? If we carry on the course that we're on right now, when do we see having backup?
I believe the delivery time is expected within 7 business days.
So, and that's being held up whether we agree or don't agree.
Correct.
You'll pull the trigger if we agree to this tonight.
Correct.
And it's 1,700 with
Bob,
the
it would
deal.
be, Bob, it would be about 17,000. It's $14.75 a month, so it's about a little over 17,000 a year. That would either be for 3 years or for 1 year. It's the same amount, but you would add the $9,200 for the server.
Correct.
Okay.
All right,
So if we decide to, I'm sorry, Maddie, why don't you go ahead?
No, I just thank you, Stuart, for that information. And look, I'm not saying that this is not an emergency. This is not a situation that we have to deal with. I see Craig is here. Craig, if you can unmute yourself, I have a couple questions for you, please. So prior to this, we had a backup, or we were back into something. So we have every year we buy servers. So we have systems in place now. We have something in place. Is there something that we in the village have? Because to me, what Mr. Frick, what you're saying, a server, buying a server, a $9,000 server, I'm assuming is a physical server, not a cloud server, correct?
Correct. The way the backup works
So-
with this particular vendor is they provide an on-site server where the first tier of data gets backed up to, and then from that server, it gets backed up to the cloud. And why they do that is if you had a catastrophe that one of the servers crashed or whatever, you can spin up an image of that particular server on the physical backup server on site and get your system up and running within several hours, while you then, figure out and mitigate the problem on the physical server. If in fact you had a catastrophe where you couldn't get into the building, let's just say for some toxic reasons, you can spin up the servers in the cloud, and then at least some people would be able to have access to the data so that you're not totally dead in the water.
I understand the
It
concept.
provides two levels.
I understand the concept. Thank you. So,
Okay.
Craig, do we have, because every year we buy a server within itself. Is there a server that we can utilize to do the same thing that they're suggesting for us to do? And I know we start doing some backups on the cloud as well. Do we have something that we in the village can do now to mirror
Actually,
what
no,
they were
this is
talking
a-
about?
Actually, no, this is a specific server meant for backups only. Our servers are used for data, not for this type of backup. So the answer would be no. We do backup to cloud, yes, we do backup in-house, but this is a specific server for a specific type of backup. For an emergency, it's called a bare metal backup, where something does happen to one of the other servers. It creates an image, and that image can be built into a new server almost immediately. This is something that's pretty important we need to do.
Okay.
What is your recommendation for us to sign a 3-year contract with them?
The recommendation is, if there are two recommendations on the table, there's two ways to go. The 3-year contract is with, again, specific for this backup management. And that would be 3 years at $14.50 a month, no output of funds for the $9,200 server. And again, it doesn't preclude us from working with other firms. It just is specific for backup management. The other option is we could decide to do a 1-year contract. And as with most things, we lose that economy of scale. So the monthly cost would still be $14.75, $14.50 a month, I forget. But we would have to put out the money for the $9,200 service. Server rather.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody gets heard. Omar, comments, if any?
Yeah, so I think that the options are either put in the, what are you looking at? 27,000 for a year, and then say in a year, we're going to do a full review and look at other vendors and do, because this is an emergency situation. Or if we say, okay, we already know the police use this service, blah, blah, blah. Let's save the $9,200 and go for 3 years. And then at the end of those 3 years, we would do another review. Then I'd be comfortable with that as well. I'm comfortable with either one, but my move would be either one of those. I wouldn't want to do nothing in order to do a full review now, in order to see which other company because we're in an emergency situation.
So basically, it's 26,600 paying for the server and taking 1 year. If we sign a 3-year contract, it's $52,200.
Actually, more like 54,000. I'll
50,
round it up.
52, it's 1450,
It's just a
right?
saving of 9,200 versus not saving 9,200.
You're not saving, you're not saving, you're paying for it in that 52,000. It's a shell game, but whatever.
Okay, I get you. That's why I said it's an incentive. It's like buying a car. You want to get this 3 years versus whatever. Okay, so Mr. Frick, one question. Your company who will probably be bidding on being a vendor of this, are there other companies that sell this backup system? And
Yes,
you use it? So
Yes.
is there a possibility that if we choose not you, and I'm not suggesting we won't choose you, there's no reason to suggest that. I'm simply asking. Again, we've never met, don't know. So would some other vendor recommend another backup type system, or can anybody use it? Is it something that's used by many, or is it something that you all prefer and some other vendor would prefer something else?
The latter. It's one that we prefer. We actually moved away from a company called Global Data Vault a few years back. We felt this was a better solution. So yeah, there are plenty of vendors that offer different solutions, and there are vendors that offer the same solution.
Right.
Datto is a well-known in the industry, so it is. Yeah, you can either get a new one or someone can offer the same thing. It's not a problem.
Okay, so, I was saying to Karen earlier, she and I sometimes in my day job, this is her day job, but I have a different day job. We follow a similar path, and we just went through something like that, and different vendors rightfully analyze everybody they work with, and oftentimes they'll decide to change over to somebody else, but the clients sort of get caught up in that, because you're trusting someone with this. So I have a sense of the board that this is exactly, do you want to take the incentive and sign a 3-year? You're not signing, by the way, just so we're all clear, for the consultants. You're signing specific to this piece of it, which is the backup system, correct?
Correct.
Correct, Karen? It's
Just to
specific
be
to
clear,
this.
because it's the contract we would be signing is with A1CS, but specific for this service only, not any other service.
Okay, so it's,
You have to, and Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is these services are implemented by different
different
firms and providers. So, but be essentially contracting for 1 year or 3 years at the board's discretion to have this system managed by A1 in place, but specific to this, no other scope of work for A1.
so what else? So we can discuss what else goes after this. So, okay, folks, I agree with, really, I think all of you are saying the same thing, unless I'm misreading the room, which is, do you want to do 1 year or 3 years? What we're looking at. 1 year passes very quickly, as we all know. Do we want to save? And I know exactly what you're saying, Bob. I get the retail analogy. I get you. Is go for the 1 year, take a little bit more time, do the analysis, do the bidding for whatever we want to, get a better understanding, because this feels not rushed because it's anybody's fault that it's rushed. On the contrary, one could argue that the village manager and her staff have worked double overtime to get this to us so quickly, because something has occurred that was not predicted. And in that occurrence, a discovery was made that it's a bigger problem than they even thought it was. And they already thought it was a big problem. So people have been working double time, not half time, but it still feels for the board who has to make the decision a little bit rushed in a sense. And we may end up regretting doing a 1 year versus a 3 year and say to ourselves, geez, we should have just done it from the beginning. Or we should just say we do need time. It just feels very rushed. And this is no reflection of you, Wayne. I hope you understand that.
No, that's fine. Not at all. I've been
In
working.
fact, we
Yeah,
thank
been
you
working-
for your quick response, for being here tonight. I think this all even developed even as a few hours ago. And so
Right.
people are acting super fast to get information to us, not taking, time, but the opposite. And we're very grateful for that. So folks, there's 5 of us. We need to make a decision. I think we're at a point, somebody can raise their hand, correct me, where, I don't think any of us are IT experts. Some of us know more than others, but nobody in this board is, an IT professional. We're going to have to listen to some of the professionals as we learn more. Where's everybody in on this? Should I do a quick where are we? Because the vote, I think, Stuart, what we are voting on is a 3-year. If we decide not to do a 3-year, you will need to change the text, correct?
I've already been rewriting it if you need it, so no
If I
problem.
need, okay. So folks, this is for me 6 of 1/2 dozen of the to the other. I believe the village manager, without putting words in her mouth, not that I ever need to, she will speak up on her own, is recommending the 3-year because it's more cost efficient and she feels good and she's worked with these folks. I don't know who any of these people are and meeting them for the first time tonight like the rest of the board. So recommendations, suggestions, and let's help out and get the votes so that we can get moving on this.
I could go first since I was the first one to speak up on this matter. If I'm going to compromise, I'm going to compromise in 1 year, and then a year times, then we can go out to bid like we've been doing everything else. That would be my only compromise.
So you want to do it's
1
not a
year.
compromise. I think you're suggesting something, Manny. It's a good thing. I mean, I think
Either
there are people in
option
agreement. Yeah,
is appropriate.
they're trying to come up with
Yeah.
some way to save some money, but and it's not that we're not saving money. I just explained the whole thing. So I'm getting one that says, let's go for 1 year. I'm going around the gallery. No special order. Trustee Lopez, please.
I'm in for 3 years.
Okay,
Yeah, you want the rationale or not? It doesn't matter.
please. Yes.
Sure, yeah. So my feeling is this. We were already walking around under the impression that everything was backed up and that we were good to go. Actually, one of the first questions that I asked as a trustee in the before times, but this was probably January or February of 2020, was when Craig came to speak to us at a work session, and I asked him about cybersecurity and is our stuff backed up? Specifically, it was about ransomware, but the idea being that are we vulnerable as a village? It was in the headlines at the time, and I wanted to see where we were. And I was assured that we were good. Turns out we're not good, and so we need to pivot and do something else. And at this point, there are many levels to cybersecurity and recovering and all of that. Given everything that I've learned so far about this specific solution and everything that I know about the field, which I'm admittedly I'm not an IT expert, but I know enough to say, okay, this is already co-signed by the Ossining Police Department, which has gone through their own process. To me, if we're going to do it for a year, let's save the $9,000 for the server instead of doing it for paying for it now and then re-up for another year or 2 or 3 in a year. It's my sense. We already have a pretty good sense that this is a good solution. Let's save the money, go in for the 3 years. That's my vote.
Thank you. Before I go to the next person, which will be Dana White on my gallery, Chief Sylvester, apologies. It's been mentioned that the police uses them, and I should have asked you. You are familiar with Wayne Frick and his company and the data system that we are discussing?
Yeah,
Yes.
so just to be clear with any of the board members that may not realize, our system is separate from the rest of the village because our records have to be separate from the rest of the village. We've had a great relationship with Wayne and A1. They've been a great help. Disaster backup, our email's up and running. We've had absolutely no interruptions for anything. I also am not an IT expert, and that's why I'm thankful to have Wayne, because I don't have to become one. So, for what it's worth as a reference for him, I can tell you that as a village employee, we've had a tremendous relationship with them, and they've provided a great service to us.
And in the system, then I assume if you're using Wayne and his company, that the backup system and the recovery is what he's already using with the police department in Ossining. And I assume that you guys did the research and that it's not just Ossining, that they are used by a number of municipalities / police.
Correct. So Wayne, I mean, he can speak better to that, but I think he's in like 16 municipalities around the county.
Yeah,
Through Westchester County Chiefs of Police, that's where we have these conversations about who's using which vendors and what strategies they're using for different things.
Okay.
So,
And remind me again how many years you've been with Wayne Frick and his company?
Quite a few, I don't know.
More than 5, you would say?
Before I was chief, yes.
Yeah.
Before you were chief. Okay. So let me just, so thank you for that. I should have actually brought you in a few minutes ago. Dana, you're next on my gallery. Your thoughts, please, so we can get a majority vote.
Manny, are you concerned we're going to set a precedent here by committing to 3 years, a 3-year contract?
Yes, we always, and look, and I know this is separate than anything else that we have done. But just as a background, when we did the wetlands, we hired our consultant that we had there for a temporary period of time. And then at the end of the year, we went out and we sent out an RFP for that particular thing. Again, these are not apples to apples, okay? Please, this is not apples. I'm not saying that we have to do this. I get that. It's the process and how we get into the process. Before, we could have said, okay, 3 years is good to me. They know them, they work with the police department. I know they're doing a good job, no problem. Again, we've been changing policy for the past 2 years, more 3 years. And we've been trying to standardize the process. So for me, it's not about them, it's about the process. So if I'm gonna commit myself to a company, whoever they are, for an emergency situation, I'd rather do it for a short period of time. They can get to bid at the end of the year or before the end of the year. And if we choose them again, if the board chooses them again, then great. You know, but I want to have those options. Right now, I don't have that. That's just, you know, and I totally agree with Omar, you know, and part of, I guess I have, when the chief spoke, you know, then I have brought up another question, is the policies that we pass, are they implemented on the police department as well? But that's a different conversation. I don't want to get into that right now. But right now we're talking about this. So again, it's about the process.
So Dana, your thought, please.
Stop laughing at me, Bob. I would go for the 3 years.
You're leaning back. I'm reading the body languages.
Well,
you don't have to explain. It's a vote. Not everybody doesn't have to explain everything.
We know what they would bid because we've already been made that offer. The question is, are we gonna save money somewhere else? If we do, how much? And if we do, is it worth the hassle? And we have really good option right here.
Just keep in mind that in 3 years, whenever the future board's here, new technology is going to be here and things are going to be different at the same time. So we don't know what's going to happen in 3 years, sure. And, you know, like I said, and I asked this to Craig, every year, if you look at our budget, every year we upgrade or we buy new servers. So it's going to be the same thing. You know, right now we're getting a promotion, and 3 years from now, we don't have that promotion anymore. We may not have that promotion or that option anymore. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Bob, you're next on my gallery, sir.
I agree with Manny. We're getting away from the process, and a year from now will be budget time. So an RFP goes out. I just, I don't want to set that precedence of just, I understand there's nothing, not that I'm saying they can't do the job, but we could say that about an engineer. We could say that about an architect. We're straying from what we've set up. And I have a problem with that. And I happen to agree with everything Manny says. And I agree with, I get it, but I just don't think, let's take the year and see what it is. That's where I stand. I'm at the year.
Okay, so I'll have the deciding vote, it looks like, because we got 2 and 2. So let me give you my point of view is similar to everybody. Let me give you the difference. So my only issue here is not the issue of the process. You know, the wetlands, my favorite topic, one of my favorite topics, I fought very hard for that, is that there wasn't like an urgency the way there is for this. We've had something happen that frankly should not have happened and did happen. So the fact that we bought service every year, apparently, didn't do what I think it should have done, but I'm not an expert. It's just sort of the feeling that I have. I'll go with my gut on this. My issue is that if we go with this recommendation, again, very respectfully, Wayne, please understand, I have nothing in this, so I don't want it to be misconstrued.
No problem.
We need to go through an RFP system. We need to give ourselves time. And really the only loss to saying 1 year is that in the end, if we choose you and your recommended data source. And Craig actually agrees with you that this is good, that it's not like he said, no, don't do it, right? So our own person said yes. So when asked by Manny, so it really ties us for 3 years. And if I have a choice to sign, because it's not that we're waiting a year, folks, it's that we're signing for a year. That's not waiting a year, but it does give us the opportunity, again, as respectfully as I can say this without being married to you in the RFP, because one of the things that I know will happen is when we look at vendors, you will be one of them. We'll say, well, we sort of have to choose Wayne Frick because he's the one that recommended that other piece, and these other two people on the RFPs are recommending a different kind of system. So now we're married for 3 years. So one thing drives the other. For me, unless I misunderstand this and somebody can stop me, it does a little bit obligate us and give you a little bit heads up. Now, you may be chosen and somebody will stand up at a public meeting and say, what the heck is wrong with you people? You just spend more money. You could have done this last year. And if you ended up choosing Wayne Frick and his company, they would be correct, except that we need more than 24 hours to mull over and think about a decision. So I'm going to go for a 1 year against my judgment of saving money, which I would prefer to do. And I usually do take the staff's recommendation, but there really is a sense. And I think, Wayne, that you don't want us feeling in a few months like we're over a barrel because of what we did tonight.
No,
You,
absolutely
you
not.
don't want that,
No,
actually, in my
absolutely
opinion.
not. I've been working in municipalities for 18 years. I understand the process. It's not a problem, not a
Mayor,
problem.
may I make one correction to what
Please, sir.
is in this statement here?
Yes,
This will not be an RFP. This will be competitive bidding.
excuse me.
It's not an RFP because this is not a professional service that would come within that. So I want to correct something that Trustee
Thank you.
Quezada was saying, that we're sending this out like engineering. This is not considered a professional service.
But still competitive bidding,
Thank
It's
which
you.
just
means we will
competitive
look.
bid. Well, competitive bidding and RFPs are not the same. Competitive
Understood,
bidding are closed bids. So it's gonna,
Understood.
there'll be a bid and it'll go. So I just wanted to be clear that way. It's not going to be an RFP.
Thank you,
understood.
Stuart. No, thank you. And that's what I'm saying. I don't want to compare apples to apples because these are not apples to apples, are totally two different things. So yeah, but thank you for clarifying that, Stuart.
Sure.
So the whole issue here, Wayne, and I'm not saying it just to you, but to everybody else, is that on the face of it, the speed that this has been attended to and the number of hours that have been spent are monumental, and we are grateful. On the other hand, we don't sit in rooms with you guys every hour. And for us, it's like as of 4 o'clock this afternoon is like when we've had time to, for those of us that even had time to read the emails and to have conversations. So unfortunately, that works a little bit against some of our ability, for some of us, not for 2 of us, but for 3 of us, the ability to say, yeah, let's do the 3 years. I know this is probably going to be what we decide. So why bother going through the motions? And some people are, the motions is part of what government is about in the process. I'm hoping that at some point somebody might realize that maybe they should speak to their vendor where they have many clients and say, you should give Ossining a little bit of a break. They moved as quickly as they could and eliminate that $9,000 charge anyway, but I leave that in your trusted hands.
I will see what I can do.
I appreciate that, sir. Next time,
Yes,
sir.
Let me make this proposal. I have the sense of the board.
Yep.
Can I have a motion to withdraw the resolution that has been read? And I will then reread the resolution with a new resolved paragraph.
Does he have a motion for that?
No, can I ask for a motion
Yes,
from the board for someone to withdraw the previously read resolution?
that's what I was saying, the same thing you
Yeah.
did.
I
Can
will make
somebody
that.
make a motion, please?
I will make that motion to withdraw what was previously read.
And will there be a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I'm going to reread the
So
resolution.
you got that, right?
Okay, now, whereas pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 103, subsection 4, the village may forego compliance with the competitive bidding requirements when a situation arises requiring an emergency procurement. And whereas the emergency exception requires that the situation must A, result from an accident or unanticipated occurrence, B, impact public buildings, property, or the life, health, and safety of municipal residents, and C, require immediate action that cannot wait for competitive bidding. And whereas the village recently sustained a significant disruption to its ability to send, receive, and retrieve emails, which disruption is continuing to be experienced by multiple village staff and departments. And whereas the aforementioned significant disruption warrants the use of the emergency exception for procurement, and whereas the village staff have determined that a robust backup and disaster recovery system must be installed as soon as possible to avoid further disruptions, now therefore be it resolved that following review by the Corporation Counsel, the village manager is authorized to sign the Backup and Disaster Recovery Services Agreement with A1 Computer Services, Inc., A1CS, 16 Mount Ebo Road, Suite 17, Brewster, New York, 10509, which agreement is for a one-year term at a monthly fee of $1,475 plus $9,200 for a 16 terabyte appliance. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, well, Sue, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I got it. Well, Stuart's doing the.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I didn't hear the opposed. I thought there were two opposed. Were there no opposed at this point?
I changed my mind.
Oh, I just didn't hear it. I was getting my cup and I
No, I mean, I'm
looked
gonna
down.
vote to move forward with
Okay,
addressing
Yeah.
whatever.
thank you. Thank you all. Much appreciated.
Okay. Is that all of the new business of the board?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Visitor recognition. Is there any visitors which would like to be accorded a 3-minute opportunity to address the board on issues relating to the, not relating to the agenda? Is there anyone here?
I
There
don't
is no
see.
one here.
Okay. Are you-
Mr. Frick, thank you for joining us tonight and
All
on
right, my
such
pleasure.
short notice.
My pleasure.
We really do appreciate it, and we appreciate the work you've been doing with our staff.
No problem. I appreciate it as well.
Okay,
All
do
right.
I have a
thank you.
motion to adjourn? Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Is there an executive session?
Yes, there is. Matters of personnel, please.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn into executive session, matters of personnel?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is adjourned. It is 9:02 on the 7th of October 2021. Thank you all very much. Join us next Wednesday for a work session. Thank you.
Right.